What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/RegularRevenge. Alright, this story's called Middle School Bully Harasses Me for 2 Years, but I got the last laugh. So when I was in 5th and 6th grade, there was this fat kid who used to pick on everyone. We will refer to him as Fat Bully. He would insult anyone looking at him funny and lightly punch anyone who touched him. My school isn't as strict as other schools about messing around with friends, but they were extremely serious about bullying, and the teachers never caught him doing this, or they didn't care enough to do something about him. But anyway, he loved to pick on me most of all and would make my life hell. If he saw me, he would punch me in the arm for no reason, trip me, spit on me, fart and burp in my face, call me different insults that I'm not sure if I can post on here. Then one day, when in 7th grade, I decided I had had enough of his crap. He started a rumor about me having kissed a boy and saying that I was gay. I'm not, and I don't have a problem with gay people. And if you ever have been in middle school, you know that rumors and lies will spread like wildfire. Dude, it just sounds like this guy had a crush on you. I'm just being real. Eventually, I learned about this, and I went to confront him about it. He admitted to it, and I don't know why, but it made me madder than it probably should have. So after school was over that day, I went home and came up with a plan. I made a pocket for my phone to sit in and record through a small hole in a strap of my backpack. The next day, I get to school and hit record on my phone and put it in my pocket. Not even 30 seconds later, Fat Bully comes up from behind me and trips me to the floor while laughing. He then spit on me and insulted my friend who I was walking with and talking to. Throughout the day, he harassed me and lots of other kids. I got it all on tape. I went home and put all the clips into a single video montage. I emailed my principal about wanting to talk to him about getting bullied and had proof of it. The next day, I go to school early and go to the principal's office. I told him about Fat Bully and how he had been bullying me and some of the other kids. I showed him the video I made, and he had Fat Bully's parents come in to talk. They talked about the video and the consequences of Fat Bully's actions. He ended up getting suspended for a few weeks, I think, and had to help the janitors after school for a few months. If I could have done anything different, I would have recorded him sooner. Hopefully that guy confronts whatever issues he has. Man, kids do some weird stuff. Like, you like someone, you beat the crap out of him. I'm just assuming the bully, he's just a closeted gay kid or something. I don't know. I've read a lot of stories, and they always end up being gay because that's what they pick on other kids for, right? He's projecting his own homosexuality, and he's mad about it. The world is getting more and more accepting by the day, so all will be well, Fat Bully, unless you're not gay. That would make you probably a sociopath, my man. You're either gay or a sociopath. Dun, dun, dun. Alright, this story's called Taking Out the Trash on My Way Out. I'm a long-time lurker, but I bounced around on sharing this story, as it happened almost 20 years ago, so I think it is finally time. I'd been a truck driver for years, and in an effort to raise a family and actually have a home life, I decided to take my skills to work for a garbage company. The company I started working for was a huge one in the US. It came with decent pay, great benefits, and the perfect work schedule. Their equipment was substandard, but I didn't care much. The employees at the company, however, were voting on unionizing the location in response to the complaints about management. I really didn't care either way because I was so new that I had zero complaints. Immediately after the contract vote, the operations manager confronted me about why I voted to accept the union contract and stated he knew I did because only 3 people voted not to, and he knew who they were. I just walked away from the conflict and focused on doing my job to the best of my abilities. I worked hard and would even work as I was eating my lunch on a daily basis and pushed myself to excel at being efficient at everything I did for them. I came to work sick several times when I should have just called in sick, and covered many shifts when others called in themselves. One would have thought an employer would appreciate people that are so devoted to their jobs. In fact, fact, many of the employees there worked just as hard as I did. This employer, however, automatically deducted 30 minutes of time for lunch from each employee, but would actually harass employees that actually took their lunch break. They would push employees to perform more and more each day so that drivers were actually speeding to keep from being written up. Supervisors and managers never commend good performance and would actually make comments such as, "If you don't like it here, McDonald's is hiring," and "There's always someone else waiting to take your job tomorrow because drivers are a dime a dozen." Vehicles were not properly maintained when it came to comfort. Equipment such as air conditioning never worked. It was no wonder the employees had decided to unionize. This went on for a couple of years before I found myself a target of such treatment. They started pushing me to drive faster and I refused. They daily came and tried to threaten me with disciplinary action if I didn't improve my performance. Performance that I knew was already beyond what I was required to do. One day, I finally had enough and told my supervisor, "I only have 2 speeds. If you don't like this one, you sure as hell aren't gonna like the other." He replied, "What is that supposed to mean?" I then stated, "Keep pushing and you will find out." He did, so I showed him what that meant. I started driving the speed limit everywhere I went, did only what I had to, and noted down each and every delay I faced for months. I took every lunch and every break I was entitled to, once even sitting with an office employee at a table right outside the general manager's window as she shared food he had provided to office personnel. I knew this was pissing them off. Finally, one day they called me into the office and started yelling at me. I informed them that I wanted my shop steward to be present for the meeting. They reluctantly agreed and then proceeded to pull out a stack of my logs from files to go through the meeting in an effort to fire me. When my shop steward arrived and the meeting started, they went through log after log for about an hour before finally conceding that I had done nothing wrong. The meeting ended with them asking me not to share its outcome with anyone else. I just smiled and walked out. As I walked down the stairs from the manager's office, a crowd of employees stood waiting to see the outcome. When they saw my smile, the crowd broke into laughter. I returned to my job and resumed my routine of working hard but continued to take my lunch breaks. Within a week, as I inspected my vehicle, I noticed it was suddenly equipped with a GPS device. This was at a time when such devices were just hitting the market, so I knew the harassment was far from over. But I never allowed the opportunity for them to find fault. Before long, my regular truck was regularly taken out of service for repairs, and the replacement I was then assigned to was a rusty old death trap. I started to appeal to the union for assistance, but was told there was little they could do since it didn't violate the union contract. I decided I would start looking for other employment, but not before enacting my revenge. For the previous couple of years, the company had assigned me to drive loads of trash to a landfill in the next county because the disposal fee was much cheaper. When they first instructed me to do so, my supervisor told me not to tell landfill employees in our county what we were doing because it was a breach of their contract with the county we worked in. However, since they were now harassing me into quitting, I made it a point to be less than subtle that I was routinely disappearing for long intervals. When a county employee started asking where I had been, I sheepishly replied, "Oh, just over at XYZ County." He replied, "You weren't supposed to go there." I answered, "Really?" He then made it a habit of asking where I had been whenever I would disappear for prolonged periods of time. Each time, I would reply, "Oh, I'm not supposed to say." This went on for months as management continued to push me toward quitting. Finally, the day arrived and I walked off the job and quickly found work elsewhere. A few months later, I picked up the local newspaper to find a front page article about how the company had violated the county contract and was being sued. A large article read that lawsuit ended with a settlement of more than $800,000 being paid to the county. I found out from employees still working there that the corporate office terminated all of the managers as a result. I sometimes miss the coworkers I once had and miss the job itself, but it was justice enough to take the trash out as I left. I was regarded as somewhat of a hero after that by those left behind. As for the immediate supervisor that directly harassed me each day, he kept his job when new management came on board. However, he insisted that he deserved a raise and stated that he would quit if he didn't receive one. The new general manager told him that he would need the request in writing in order to try to negotiate with corporate. When he handed the general manager the ultimatum, the general manager replied, "I will take this as your letter of resignation." Ayo, snap. That was brutal. Not really, but quite regular, which is what we came here for. But OP, good job for being a hard worker despite, them incentivizing you to not be. Sucky thing is, but it's reality. Good employees, diligent, hardworking employees are not gonna stand out. I mean, if your employer does notice that, then that's fantastic. But usually they don't stand out. What makes you stand out is improvement. So you start off really okay, not bad, but not great, okay? Then you do better. That's when you get commendations, okay? Or just be really bad the entire time and just occasionally well. And boom, that's how you get into the manager's or supervisor or whatever the hell it is his heart, if it has one, or if they have one. Alright, this story's called "Sent Your Friend to Threaten Me, Then Tried to Get Me in Trouble with My Boss Because You Cheated on Your Test and Got Found Out. Enjoy doing a harder one under surveillance thanks to my boss." I'm a teacher, and a week ago I gave my students a test according to the units of the book. Since I teach a beginner level of English, the tests, Google Forms, no surveillance, aren't hard, and not many people take the class seriously. Oh well, I have two students who we'll call Stella and Josh for privacy reasons. Josh doesn't like English and hardly participates in class. Stella is dedicated but doesn't understand the subjects. This is what happened. Stella finished the test first and sent the answers of 4 questions to Josh, who submitted his test last in order to not raise suspicion. When I was correcting the tests, I noticed his and her answers matched, even the mistakes. I contacted my supervisor and she told me to void both questions for both tests and tell them why. After 10 minutes of results delivered, Josh sends me a message telling me that he wants his score to be lowered and for me to give back Stella's score because he had requested the answers. I told him I couldn't do that and he snapped, said he'd report me for being partial and that he secretly recorded all the online classes and would send a huge email with proof to the coordination. I told him to go ahead, but he figured out that he passed the subject even with a lowered score, and I presume he just said screw it and moved on. His friend, however, couldn't pass the class with her lowered score and kept pestering him to threaten me, but he apparently started to ignore her, so she decided to send emails herself to solve her problem. She didn't know I already warned the coordination, and they were more than prepared to handle her situation. Here are the translated exchanges.
"I'd like to have my test score reviewed. I did the test, but now I feel prejudiced thanks to
my name's
correction."
"What exactly happened? Why do you feel prejudiced? Please explain."
"I got voided scores in 4 questions. I feel very prejudiced. The teacher is biased."
"Why were the scores voided?"
"Please just fix the situation."
After that exchange, my boss got aware of the contents and contacted me. I explained to her everything with proof, and she burst out laughing and said,
"I know what to do,"
and sent her an email.
"Good morning, Stella. I'm
my name's
boss, and I got a hold of your situation and I found a solution for you. Since you want your test reviewed, you are going to do another test, handwritten and under surveillance with another teacher to make sure there are no biases with the corrections. Have a good day."
My boss requested the other teacher to make a harder test since she had time to study more, and Stella has sent me a go to hell and blocked me on the messaging platform we use to communicate. First of all, Josh, what a G, trying to take the fall. but he gave up pretty quick. This story's called, I don't know what this guy was trying to do. My background is working in restaurants/hotels for 20 years, then retail management for 11 years. In both of those industries, you interact with a lot of people. Most customers are nice, fair, and not out to cause a problem. Personally, I do my best to provide courteous and efficient customer service. Serving that many people over the years, I can't say that I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot. This incident sticks out in my mind as a what the fuck moment. This happened a few years ago, and I remember it well. I was managing a convenience store/gas station. I was working the night shift covering for an employee that called off. The store was being sold in 2 days, and I already had another job lined up. While this was happening, I remember thinking to myself that I had nothing to lose if I angered this guy. The only reason I can think of why this man did this is because he really came across as an arrogant jerk. I'm sure you know the type. These are not pleasant people to interact with. The man was dressed really well, wearing a nice suit. He pumped gas into his luxury car. It was later at night, so the place was slow. No other customers at the time. As he's walking into the store, I could tell by his swagger that this is a man that thinks his stuff doesn't stink. He walks up to the register. I greeted him, asked if he needed anything other than the gas, and he said, no. I rang up what was on the pump, which was $36 US worth of gas. The man opened his wallet, took out a $20 bill, then proceeded to take about a minute to wad the $20 bill into a little ball and put it on the counter. He took another $20 bill from his wallet and did the same thing to the second bill, again taking about a minute to do it and put it on the counter. As he was doing this, he was looking straight at me with this crap-eating grin. I took the 2 bills, unfolded them one at a time, ran them across the edge of the counter a few times to straighten them out. This took about another minute. I'm really anal about having the money put neatly in my drawer. All the bills face up and pointed the same way. Usually this can be done very quickly. When I gave him his change, which was $4 for $1 bills, I took the time to wad each of the bills into little balls, the same way he did. Then I handed the 4 singles to him with a genuine smile on my face and told the man to have a good evening. The look he gave me was priceless. I'm going to assume that no one ever gave back to him what he gave to others. It's these small wins that make life worth living. And if life's worth living, then it's worth recording. I used to watch the Shaytards vlogs a lot when I was junior high, like late elementary school. That whole family, freaking great. Anyway, I love this petty revenge kind. Yeah, it's petty. That's what it's marked as. Genius. I hope that guy really learned his lesson. He probably didn't. He probably took it out on the next person he encountered. What if this guy was like a mob boss or something, okay? Like, what if he just pissed off Tony Soprano? Obviously, he'd probably do something to you, but like, what if he was busy and he was just pissed off the rest of the day and some dude does something very minor and he just flips out and beats the crap out of him? Because that's what he does. That's Tony Soprano for you.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.